here.
Hello.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay. Okay, thank you for everyone being here. It's kind of loud, but thank you. December 15th, 2021, Payson City Council meeting, and it is just a little bit after 6. Again, thank you for being here. It's always good to see the people we represent here and taking an interest in what we're doing. We've asked Jaden Beckstrom if he would open this council session with prayer. Jaden, come on up front if you would, Jaden. Sorry. Council Christensen has helped me out this time.
Heavenly Father, grateful we can all be here today. And please help us somehow to have a good meeting and all to learn. We're grateful for some of the snow and business, but be safe when we are back.
Thank you, Jaden. And then we've asked Jaquel Smith if you'd come up and lead us. Thank you, Jaquel.
Please stand for the pledge.
America, for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jaquel. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Approval of December 1st, 2021 City Council minutes, resolution, City Council annual meeting dates and times, resolution 2021 water conservation plan update. Number 4, resolution agreement with Vero Impact regarding consulting services. Number 5, agreement approving participation in the opioid settlement. Unless there's any discussion, I'm ready for a motion.
I'm good. You can make a motion or you want to comment?
Nope, I was just gonna make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. This will require a roll call vote. Starting with Council Christensen.
Aye.
Council Carter.
Aye.
Council Prosgaard.
Aye.
Do we have, Council Hyatt, I didn't forget you.
Aye.
Okay, would like to excuse Council Hewlett, he had another obligation, so Council Hewlett will not be joining us tonight. Okay, thank you.
Mayor.
Yes.
If I could, I'd make a motion that we suspend the agenda and allow the mayor to publish one of the items at his discretion.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
okay, thank you. Do we need to vote? All in favor, is that okay? Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Well,
Aye.
thanks. We'll go ahead and jump to number 3 on C, petitions. We have the privilege and pleasure of having our senator here, Senator Mike McKell, and Representative Doug Welton. Would love to have you address this if you could. And would.
Yep, so they've been asked to come and just maybe give an update of what they see coming in the legislature and from their perspective. And then if you have any questions for them, feel free to ask them. But we appreciate both Representative Welton and Senator McKell for they've helped Payson out a lot in the last several years, and we look for more help.
There you go. Yeah, we're looking for more help.
I don't know which one wants to go first. Mike, you want to come and, or you both come up?
Hey, let me just start by saying thank you for having us. And to your citizens, I know you've got a few people that are going to watch this tonight. Not many people jump in and watch city council. Cities and city government are run by those who actually show up, and I appreciate all of you. But just know that your mayor is heavily involved in the legislative process, which I think is something I appreciate. I hear from the mayor every time there's an issue. I appreciate that. I hear from your city manager. I hear from Dave Tuckett, longtime family friend. I hear from your attorney from time to time. And I hear Chief Bishop comes to Capitol Hill every year, and I appreciate the involvement. I think we're gonna have a good legislative session. My biggest concern, I know we're gonna have all day caucus tomorrow. I know Representative Welton had all day caucus this week. They talked about inflation. I'm a little bit worried about that. We have an insane amount of federal dollars coming to the state. I'm hesitant to say we have surpluses because we do have obligations as a state. We need to continue to fund our obligations, especially with education. So when we have surpluses, some of those dollars are already called for or taken with priorities in the state. A project I've been working on, I had a chance to talk to Dave about it before, is I'm part of the ARPA work group. And we are going to have a dollar amount, hopefully, that we can bring down to Utah County that impacts Utah Lake. And one of the best ways to help Utah Lake is to improve our sewer systems. So there is a grant amount that I'm trying to bring to a whole bunch of cities in South Utah County, and Payson is on that list. I know your project is there. We need to get it done, and that does improve lake quality. I've appreciated serving with Representative Weldon. He's done a terrific job. It's great to see his involvement with Payson City as well. But with that, I'm gonna open up for questions. But let's let Doug go, and then we'll answer questions. We'll let Doug answer the hard ones.
Thanks, it's good to be back. People ask me what it's like being at the state capitol all the time, and I tell them it's fun. It's got pros and cons as well. But I really miss being at the city level. I think this is where the rubber meets the road for everybody out there. We get really into like state elections and federal elections, but really what happens here affects you more immediately every single day than what happens you at the federal level. I mean, most of you are not dealing with a lot of those big issues that are happening up there. And some of that does trickle down. We need to worry about what's happening there because it does affect the local cities. So to that end, one of the commitments I have that I made before is having been on city council before, is to kind of wear both hats and keep an eye out. We know that there's a tremendous amount of growth coming our way. We wrestled with it a lot when I was on city council, and it's right there from what I understand. The Red Ridge area is getting close to going, and there's a lot of pressures that you're having, as well as Santa Gwen and Elk Ridge and other communities. With prices, they're really high, and inflation's at 7.9%. And so, like Senator McKell said, we are trying to address those issues. Those are important issues that we need to see if we can address as a state. Some of that comes with how we spend ARPA money and state money to make sure that we're not creating more inflation as we spend money to help out Utahns. The more you spend, the more it impacts the economy. And so we're trying to be very mindful of that. We also have some bills that we're working on. I've talked to Chief Bishop of some bills that might be of local interest. I filed a bill to address law enforcement retirement and firefighters retirement. There's been a big impact in the number of people going into our first responder services. And everyone is feeling that. And then you add on to that, like the employment crunch, where we're short employees and we're hurting in our state. It's got a huge price tag. Representative Wynn kind of beat me to the punch, and he's also in law enforcement, so that one's going through him. So we'll have to watch that and see what it does. But it could be a big boon to our city employees. I think I mentioned it before, just some local bills or bills that might have some local impact. I got asked a lot when I was on city council about recycling and whether it's going to the landfill or other places. And so I do have a recycling transparency bill that just says annually, if a recycling company uses a public entity for billing, then they have to give an annual report of where the end product goes. They have some reports, but it's not very detailed and specific to our municipality and where our waste is going. And so it's just one of those transparency issues. That was a big issue when I was on city council, and continues to be an issue for me. And then I've got some election cleanup bills with ranked choice voting, which congratulations all on winning your ranked choice elections. It's very impressive. And then there's some issues that kind of happen with what happens when a council member leaves early. How do you replace them? There's been some issues in our neighboring community, and we just like to clean up to make sure that we can eliminate any community distrust or skepticism as a result of the process. And so we're just trying to clean up that process. But I do appreciate Senator McKell, like he's been invaluable to me, helping me learn the ropes and connecting with people and
Hasn't taken much.
And we're really excited. So Senator McKell and I, for those, the city council knows already, but those are here, we worked pretty hard and got some funding for Main Street Payson, pretty significant amount. We got $5 million to work on that project. And I think we'll start to see some of that happening in the design process now. So then the design process right now, so we'll see some changes there. So, yeah, questions for myself or Senator McKell?
I'll jump on the next. No, I want to, for age before beauty.
And you don't have either.
Whatever works.
I resemble that remark.
First of all,
For those of you who don't know, Councilman Christensen and I work together at schools. We have fun.
And I'd like to point out that most of the audience is Mr. Morel's government class. It was do or die. It's the last of the
Stay in
last.
term,
year.
right? I've got 4 or 5 of these kids in my classes as well.
Sorry you have time, Mr. Morel.
I don't have any of them currently enrolled in my class. I told them they needed to fix that problem.
They clearly are taking the good classes.
We're on record.
Sorry.
first of all, Doug, you can't have my seat back. I want it fair and square.
That's true.
Second of all, I would thank both of you for what you've done this past year. I don't think if either one of you would have been there, that money wouldn't have flowed to Payson. So thank you so much. Thank you for the support that you give us during the events that we have, to see you there, to the Scottish Festival and things like that during the onion days and what have you. That was wonderful. Thank you. Question I have, and I'll tell you how this came about. Last council meeting, we had UTA here and they gave a presentation on what the future looked like for UTA coming south through Springville, Spanish and Payson and beyond. And I was disheartened. I was tickled that they decided the front runner would definitely come to Payson. But I was disheartened when they gave the date that they anticipate now that it's coming, 2050. And I understand that growth could accelerate that exponentially. With that said, they want it on the north end of Main Street, which is fine with me. UVU will be there. We've got MTech that's waiting for the legislature to act on this year. We're the #1 budgeting request that they're coming to the legislature with. I would really appreciate if you guys would stay on top of that one and follow that through. That is so needed in Payson. Give these kids an opportunity when they graduate from high school to stay here and attend a higher education learning of the technical skills and the professional skills that are offered there.
Like wood shop.
So here's where my whole question goes. With all of that that's transpiring and taking place, Doug, well, neither one of you commute, so you don't know what the traffic's like mornings and night. I live on 2nd North and 2nd West, and in the mornings trying to get on there, especially now with snow and slick roads, you take your life in your hands. North Main Street is just totally overran. Somebody's gonna get killed on it. I firmly believe that somebody's gonna get hit. And there's been 3 accidents just since the weather that I've seen and witnessed and know of. I'm sure Brad would tell me there's more. But what influence, what can we do more to get the money budgeted and get the North Interchange ratified and going? That's my question.
Well, let me ask you another question that will muddy the waters a little, not muddy the waters, but somebody asked me the question as well about all the development going on 800 South on the other side, and if that overpass is big enough to handle the capacity to put in 1,500 units. And so I think along with that, do we have is there a plan in place that we need to be working on with you as well for that, as well as.
I think Mountain Lands got that on the radar. It's down the road a bit, but Mountain Lands does have that on the radar.
There was 3 people yesterday trying to go over, pedestrians, go over, and there's no modern traffic that allows them to cross. And number 2, it's just plain not wide enough with snow up
Right.
against the barriers or the barricades. Those people were out. One was dragging a cart with Walmart bags in it, so I know where she was coming from.
Right.
And I kind of know where she was going to the apartments there. That's gonna become more and more as Red Ridge comes. To me, that would be paramount, but what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Sure. North end. or
Well,
east
the
end?
north end, I think needs to be, I mean, we've got the plans and everything already. I just want to make sure that we have that on the horizon too. That's going to be the problem.
And we have our own, game plan, so to speak, too, that we're working on. Well, but that will take your help as well.
Sure. As far as the interchange, I think we just continue to exert pressure. I think one of the things that I am going to work on is the Utah County caucus. If we can get our colleagues in Utah County, the senators and representatives from Utah County, all on the same page, that will give us a really strong voting block and a lot of influence that way. And so to that end, actually, we want to host the Utah County caucus down here at some point in time and maybe show them. Maybe we'll set it up so it's at 5 o'clock. But no, 5:30, so they have to like drive into town on that road.
That'd be great. It just seems like UDOT has turned a deaf ear. We were told that we hurried and got the interchange, the intersection cleared of Payson City requirements coming from Temple North, that street light would be put in. First of all, it was promised in May, then they said, oh, by August it'll be going in. Well, it's December and the Temple's back in full swing, and there's another, I mean, growth is everywhere.
Right.
I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but it just seems like UDOT, once you leave Spanish Fork, UDOT kind of forgets that we're here.
I'd just add that Doug and I are gonna continue to put pressure, but you guys can continue to put pressure on that. I mean, Andrew Jackson's pretty good ally to South Utah County. I think keep that pressure. We're gonna clear a lot of projects with some of the federal dollars, and we've got a bunch of projects we need to get out of the way. But I mean, it's a priority. The hard part on the north interchange is it's so expensive. It does take a big block of money to do that. But we gotta accelerate that. I'm kind of partial to the mayor's proposal with UDU to have a place for their rodeo team to have a facility, and I hope to see that happen sooner than later. And I'm not seeing a lot of movement from UDU. Met with MTech last week before President Christensen. They're anxious to move forward, and they are prioritized number. So the State Board of Education prioritized a number 1 tech building and a number 1, university building, and they were definitely number 1 tech building. There were three on the list that I think they're going to get the funding. If I had to predict, I think it happens.
Yeah, I believe we get this.
Are there any other large interstate projects that precurse the north interchange that you know of?
Again, in Lehigh, probably.
We're like 60th.
Weaver, Davis County.
Where are we at on the list?
Weaver and Davis County's getting all of
Yeah,
them.
We're at 7 on the list.
Well,
And there's a lot of political will up in Davis, Weaver County right now. They got a lot of projects.
I travel 89 up through the heights and up over right now, and that's a huge project that they're undertaking right now. Apparently, that's where all the dollars are going, according to
Feels like
District 4 or whatever.
I think what, our game plan, I alluded to that, is to try and break up that proposed $180 million that would take into different segments over the next 5 years. And use some political muscle to help that process along. And that's our, game plan that I alluded to. And certainly would love your support in doing that. And then that way it won't be in one big lump sum, but we'll get what we want maybe in the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that helps. helps. One thing I think the public misses is the South County mayors are pretty unified. I watched it at a time when I first started, they weren't, but it's been fun to watch the mayors meet. And there's a lot of votes because it's one vote per city. You've got a lot of little cities down here. You know, Genola's vote is the same as Spanish Fork's vote. You've got the mayors together. It's been good to see you guys unified.
There was a project in Lehigh versus a project in Santa Quin, and it was very good to see that the Utah County as a whole, even in the northern part of the county, responded in by saying, well, your project's not quite ready in Lehigh, but Santa Quin is, and we're able to give those funds to Santa Quin. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
Thanks. I just appreciate you guys being here and your support and us allowing to grill you a little bit. Thanks.
Well, I get the opportunity to meet with Doug a little bit more often than most. In fact, we broke bread on Monday, right? And sat around and ate dinner and party, but cheesecake, and had some cheesecake. But the one concern, so I guess it'd be more for Mike, I am really concerned about the state's mandates for the median income housing. I think that if we do that on a city level, we're going to cause a spiral, and it'll drive the value of housing down. In order to meet it, it keeps going down and down, and the richer cities moving up and up, it goes the opposite direction. And I'd like to see it more based I'd like to see it statewide, but maybe countywide, it'd be even feasible. So those numbers that are set in there that say, hey, you have to have housing that meets this criteria, it's based on the county and not on the city. So that the whole county holds that same burden, and not the lower income cities.
So the best way to address that, and I know Payson City, you guys are involved with the League of Cities and Towns. Anytime we're looking at those formulas, it impacts everybody. So having the league and being involved there, I think does make a difference. I don't like a lot of the formulas. Formulas for education funding have historically hurt EVO school districts. And you're gonna see some more equalization in the educational. We just don't see that with the same degree with cities, but engage the league, because there's so many competing interests that they have an ability to come together with a unified voice in the house.
Okay.
So Doug, I don't watch that.
Please don't miss your opportunity to ask the senator and representative a question here, young men and women and attendees. So if you have any questions, please.
Give us a question. You don't get credit if you don't ask a question. Where's the teacher?
It's like giving them extra credit to come to parent-teacher conference. Add work to the teacher.
Give them a Mr. Morel scenario.
Mr. Morel.
He always
I
has a
said-
scenario.
So a scale from 1 to 10. 10 being
Mr. Morel.
You can go back and tell him how he was talked about.
Doug is really intimidating.
Mike, I think you should just walk into his classroom tomorrow and strike up a conversation.
You know what?
Tell me what time you do it, so I can be there.
I'll come, not tomorrow, I have all day conference tomorrow.
Okay, if there's no further questions, we'll let them up the hot seat, but we certainly do appreciate the ability that we have to reach out and communicate with you, and depend on your support as time goes on. Certainly won't expect carte blanche, but we relish the ability that we have of talking to you on individual projects.
definitely a partnership.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's shared. I appreciate Payson City. I mean, Mayor, you have been fantastic.
Thank you.
To work with, and I appreciate that. And your council is fantastic. And you got a great city manager here, and a good attorney, and I see your chief all the time on Capitol Hill. I appreciate how involved you guys are in state politics. It does make a difference in the end.
Thank you.
And just one final note, just as a resident, thanks for planning my roads. The lights are beautiful. I appreciate the wreaths and the new, you notice the new lighting, they look really nice.
Thank you.
And I just, with that,
New Garland.
The new
garland,
garland,
yeah,
and the lights as well.
And I was gonna ask Travis what the snowpack was, but he probably doesn't have those numbers yet.
Oh, I do.
Oh,
Oh, I do. We're about 125% of normal right now.
Down from the 307% we were on.
all right, well, thank you. We
Thank you. Thank you, Council Proscott, for making that motion and giving us the ability to put them. And your support in the motion in a second. Okay, we'll move on to number one, go back to the right order. We'll open a public forum. Anyone can speak on items that are not on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and we'll go to that point. Can we have anybody online? Okay, not seeing that we have anyone here or online, I'll go ahead and close the public forum. We'll move to number 2, staff reports.
Sure, you don't have to.
You just want me to sit back down?
No,
I
you're
don't
fine.
have a lot.
Come let us know how bad they really do. Snow really was.
The snow removal's been tough for our plows, just for the amount and the snow events were both pretty quick, you know, they piled up pretty fast. Had a little difficulty getting cars off the street, guys went out and we gave warnings since October, and so we gave a lot of warnings. Last night, they wrote about 49 citations last night, so I'll probably have a lot of complaints in the morning, but that's fine. We can't Travis's guys are phenomenal to work with and give us a list, say, hey, we need this moved. And so we're working as a partnership to try and get our roads cleared as fast as we can. And then I think Travis's guys, they're phenomenal to work with. So to speak to Councilman's traffic acid, we had 16 just in a short while yesterday. So it was piling up pretty quick. Or not yesterday, but
One of these days, there's gonna be a real serious one.
yeah, and to speak to the Main Street exit, we're starting to have some real major problems right there. Traffic is backed.
And people
From the
take
TP.
chances that
It's-
they normally would. And now that the roads are slick, by the time they take that chance, they're.
Yeah. it is-
And unfortunately, it's just gonna get worse. We know that. We want to try to nip it as close to the bud as we can.
Yeah, so anyway, that's all I have unless you have some questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you for all that you do, Chief, and all your officers. Please let them know that. And Kent, you're not here, but thank you for what you do and your staff.
Brad, I just will tell you from the council's perspective that we'll support you on the citations that you're issuing, because I followed the snowplow today on my backhoe and it's a nightmare.
Mayor and Council, just to follow up, we are planning on getting a traffic signal at 6 North by McDonald's. But they are working on it. UDOT is working on it. They do have to take a little property on the corners and they're working through that with one of the property owners. Other than that, I think they're moving. We're trying to get it as quick as we can. We've already done our part with the agreement we have. And so hopefully we'll see some action there and get that'll help a little bit, especially in the spring when Paris RV opens up. And for the buses to turn onto that road, it'll help have that light signal.
Will that surpass 8,000?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Oh.
ask.
Will that be the first
No, they
one?
still have that one on the list too.
Yeah.
Well,
it
yeah,
seems
but
to
my
be-
understanding was
They got all the,
fronted the money for the 6 North and 8 South. They're still waiting to fund
Funding?
it. It's a little different. But
yeah, they've got the funding for that. At this point, it's just they only have a certain number of contractors to do all the work throughout the county and the state. So it's just the priority list. Is that right?
So 6 North will still fall into that same priority list.
Yeah, 6 North and
we're
the
funding it
8
or not.
South, they're both funded. And
6 North, they're still working on that, right?
And just so the public does know, it's not something that we're leaving to chance. We're all very well aware of what the challenges are, and we meet with UDOT quarterly, and both those issues are brought up every quarter. So we are pushing as hard as we can.
I just wanted to thank you all for serving this year and wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We do have an employee luncheon in the morning at 11:30. If you can,
I'll be there.
I don't know, Brad, if you can get off for a lunch.
Linda will be
We'll-
there.
we'll send-
Today or Friday, I can't.
Not on Thursday. Anyway, if you can be there, great. And anyway, just hope you have a good holiday season.
Are you doing the turkey and ham
We do have turkeys and hams that we will be passing out as well
tomorrow?
tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
For those that
So there's
can.
not another
So-
time.
No, so after the luncheon, you can come pick those up, and we'll try to get them out in the next few days to get everybody their turkey. We'll get it to you, Brad.
Maybe,
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe.
Merry
Yes,
Christmas.
I take it.
Thank you.
Turkey for me.
Okay, thank you, Dave. We'll go on to the action items.
Council report.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Yes, council report starting with you.
Oh, I'm gonna go first. I don't have anything. I'm just kidding. Just was talking with Representative Welton the other day, and he had mentioned that I had sent this out, kind of a text, but Salt Lake County has GPSs on their snow plows. And I don't know if that would be something that we could look at. It'd kind of be nice to have that interactive on our website, kind of watch. I know if I was sitting there getting ready to go to work, and if I waited 5 minutes, I could follow a snowplow out of town, I might do it, but just kind of so people know where they're out there and they're moving. And we sure got a lot of complaints, but there was so much snow out there, and it's tough. It's hard to get out there. I don't remember, isn't it something? Travis would know this. How many center line mile of road do we have in the city of Payson? 94 miles is all it is? Oh, that was more than that.
Well, I've talked to Kent Fadden just as recently as today or yesterday, and these aren't the smaller trucks, but the big trucks. It's not unheard of for 149 miles per truck. And we have. they're pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they have to go up and down both of them, so when you start taking a snowplow that's driving 10, 15 miles an hour and has to drive 100 miles, it takes a long time to clear the roads.
How many trucks do we have operating at a time? Four at a time? Okay. Good to know and be able to tell with the resident.
And some smaller trucks that help on the other areas.
Right, on the cul-de-sacs.
Anyway, that was all I had.
Maybe
Thank you for getting the snow cleared.
Write a few more citations. We could put.
Well, we can't do it for profit. Brad's already told me I'm not allowed to ask for that. On more than one occasion.
We'll just put us a budget. You figure it out. Now, Ricardo.
I don't really have anything. I was one street that didn't get scraped today. Anyway, but I know how busy they are, and I know that they're out there doing it. So I really appreciate Kent and his drivers for the work that they do. And I appreciate Brad for everything that he does also. I did have a question before and I kept forgetting to ask. Who's cleaning up the graffiti up at the skate park?
Steve normally does them.
Who?
Steve Spencer.
Oh, he does that, huh? Didn't we have a group or a young lady that,
We have a group that's called Tags, Teens Against Graffiti. However, it's on city property. Steve usually likes to because he has like the colors and stuff.
oh,
that he
okay,
uses and
okay,
has, you know, kind of a process and they try and match it. So
good,
he would rather do that. You know,
okay.
but we do offer that in the private property if we want that service.
Because I pass by that a number of times daily and have noticed the graffiti that's there at the skate park. Of course, not now, but boy, kids, if you know who they are, maybe say something to them if you dare. They might be a little tough because I've had my run-ins with them. But I appreciate Steve getting it covered up as quick as he does. I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
I'd like to just chime in here on the snow issue where I've actually ridden with the truck drivers as they push the snow. Didn't do it this year, but I've done it in past years. And again, there are a lot of complaints, but I think a lot of them are because that there's not a whole bunch that is known. People are critical that the snow gets thrown onto the sidewalks, and I can understand that, especially after they just got through clearing them. And but they have to maintain a certain speed to be able to push the snow, and just the physics of it, it does get pushed off to the right. I know they go 20 miles an hour, maybe at the most 25, and they have to maintain that speed to be able to push the snow. So as the focus there is, unfortunately or unfortunately, it's on getting the streets cleaned and not necessarily on pedestrian travel at that point in time, so that we can get the main thoroughfares cleared and the secondary, the neighborhood roads cleared as well. The first storm that came through, Kent got a hold of me and said, hey, we're going to keep pushing until about 8 o'clock, but there was so much traffic on the road that they couldn't get it done. They weren't being very effective and could hardly get across the highway that divides our city at SR 198. And so they had decided to come out at 2 o'clock in the morning, where there were not as many cars on the road. So there's a multifaceted decisions that are made there in order to be more effective and get the most work done. So we do appreciate all the work that they're doing. Council.
Just a big thank you on the Christmas decorations day. I've had so many comments on how nice they look and not dirty and old and what have you. I did have a couple people ask me why we don't have a city Christmas tree this year.
Oh, that we've had
And
down
I
there.
I didn't have an answer that we normally put up.
It died.
Live tree, we had a couple live trees where the sign was, and
Yeah.
and we decorated those, but they died. We told them, we don't have a new, we haven't put up a fake one.
It's something we've talked about.
We've got that lighted one, so we put in Memorial Park, we could maybe move to that one, but as far as a real tree.
I think it's cool having one right there on the corner,
Mhm.
especially now that the church is coming. You can see it from way down North Main, but let's talk about that. We've got another year to talk about.
We've talked to a group that actually has access to some trees that they get so big, they have to move them and they're willing to donate it to the city. So
Well, and we used to, when I was on council before, we used to put it in the paper that if anybody had a pine tree that they wanted removed, and don't donate it to the city, we go pick it up off their yard after it was cut down. So just a thought. Okay, now the bad stuff. I've spent a lot of time looking at our general plan. Matter of fact, to the point that I'm wondering, Travis, Jill, Robert, department, if it would be wise to have a work session and discuss the infrastructure that's going in and that's anticipated down associated with Red Bridge and that area. As I look, the potential that's coming down in that area, and we're dumping everything that we got into a 21-inch sewer main. We don't have any room for growth. And we're dumping another 21-inch line in right now. And I potentially see going farther south and west. We don't have room for anything, as you discussed the other night, just by doing a minor zone change. It maxes the capacity, or it over exceeds the capacity of what we are putting in right now. It just seems like, as I look at the master plan and what potential that we could, right now we have no discretion of a zone change or anything to the master plan. Maybe that's good. But it felt like my hands were tied last week or last council meeting on a fairly decent project. And we remanded it back to you guys, and I don't know how you can come up with the ideas either if we can't come up with them and help you. I'm just thinking we need to get some more tools in the box that you guys can work with. Is that?
You bet.
So I'll just leave that up to you, Robert, and if you would like to, I'm all ears on a work session and would like to see between our engineers and you guys what you envision. Okay. And the last one is, this is the really bad one. I started on the private road ordinance back when I was sweating here in July. And here we are in December, and now we're not gonna see anything until January. Are we any closer to having an ordinance ready to go? Because I do feel like with the projects that are being talked about coming forward, the sooner we get that ordinance in place and say, oh, it's not in the ordinance. Health. Yeah, I do.
Well, I think staff talked to you, or Robert and Dave talked to you a couple weeks ago. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay, we will hopefully get some, I mean, obviously it has to come back to council.
I think I clarified everything the council wanted, and I don't think we're reinventing the wheel.
No, we're not. I mean, it's,
I just think it's,
it was done to a point where staff was reviewing it. And then at that final stage, that's when they actually, most of the staff was like, well, we don't know exactly what parameters we're supposed to be using for this. Nestor had brought forth something about 6 months ago.
and I ate him alive over it, and I'm gonna eat somebody alive over it. I want one together in January that we can have as a tool arsenal for Robert and Jill and all the crap that's coming forward to us that we don't want.
It's ready to go. I
Say
mean,
it doesn't meet our ordinance.
Councilman, it's ready to go as of today. It is ready to go. I just have to get in there and start taking out some of the stuff that I was told that needs to come out.
Okay.
So it'll be ready in January.
Whoever worked on it, thank you. Let's get it passed, because I know this summer is gonna be an onslaught. The growth that everybody keeps saying is coming is on paper, like ready to come. And if we have that ordinance. I don't want to sound redundant, but if we have that ordinance, that gives Jill and Robert the opportunity to say, that doesn't meet the current ordinance, sorry.
No, I understand.
Okay. Enough said.
Okay, thank you. Council Hyatt.
I just agree with what Bob said. Thank you, Bob, for saying that. I appreciate it. I don't really have much to say. I know they get them. We really do need to support our local businesses. I know everybody's shopping online at Amazon and leaving the town to go shopping, but boy, I'd sure like to get people to stay in Payson and use our local businesses. We want them to stay. We gotta be using them, or otherwise they can't stay in business.
You bet.
So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Just by way of explanation, Council Hyatt's not feeling well, and we wish her to get better as soon as she can. Thank you. Okay, then we'll go ahead and move on to the action items, resolution appointment to the 4-Bay Committee. Carl, D and you will team tag this.
Sure, Mayor and Council and public. In May, we adopted a Payson 4-Bay Committee with the purpose of receiving public input and being a liaison between the public and the City Council regarding the 4-Bay area, specifically the management plan that was adopted previously. And over the last few months now, we've received applications, reviewed those applications, and now the mayor it's in his hands now to appoint those members to the committee with the consent of the council.
Hey, council members, we do have a list of candidates that I'd like to, and I believe you're aware of them, which should have been in your packet. We have a wealth of very talented people in our city, and there was quite a bit of interest in this committee. I might mention that the people that were on the committee to pick these people, the review panel were Council Christensen, Carl Demont, Wes Barney, our park superintendent, and Jill Spencer. So we do appreciate all the time and thought that's went into this. We have a 7-member committee that, again, are very, very adept at what we're asking them to do. I would like to present the name of Kerry Pierce, Darcy Trotter, Chris Johnson, Sean Ward, Adam Cowie, Greg Madsen, and Devin Weaver as the candidates that we would like to have on this 4-Bay committee. So I'd like to present those names to the council and would be willing to entertain a motion. If there's some discussion prior to, I'd be more than happy to listen to that discussion.
I think the only discussion that I have is there's staff members there too, correct?
Yeah, there will be some staff members, and staff members are pretty much the ones that were on the committee. We'll have Council Christensen as a representative,
And Jill?
and Jill,
The four of
and
us
Wes
will be
Barney and
there.
Carl.
Okay.
They will not be voting members, but they'll be there for a resource. The members that I just read, they will be the voting members, and then it will come to us as city council.
So anything that they have has to still go through us as a legislative action
Why would you not be a voting member of it?
because of the way we wrote it.
They're an advisory committee as well, as he pointed out. So yeah, the staff is meant to be.
And I might mention where Council Hewlett was very heavily involved prior to this, he would be a resource as well. I believe we felt that it would be very good to have the citizens be the voting members, and then it would actually come back to us to ratify those recommendations.
It'd be similar to the parks tax.
The same park tax. Okay. So we still have
Yes,
legislative.
absolutely.
Okay.
Any other discussion? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we allow the mayor to appoint the names listed for the 4-Bay committee as an advisory board for that area.
And I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and it's been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Council Hyatt. You there with us, Council Hyatt?
Yeah, my computer's like going in and out. I have to keep
Okay.
signing back on. But yeah, I said yes.
Yes, okay, Council Prosgaard,
Yes.
Council Carter,
Yes.
Council Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries. We're looking forward to using this committee to help us formalize our efforts at the 4-Bay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Would like a motion to adjourn to redevelopment agency.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn to redevelopment.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
I
Okay, motion carries. So we are in the redevelopment agency. We're going to entertain a resolution, RDA annual meeting dates and times.
I'll make that motion. Do we accept those?
As directors,
As a director, I'll second that.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I don't know that I heard.
Aye.
that. Okay, wonderful. Okay, the motion carries.
As a director, I'll make a motion, we adjourn from the redevelopment agency.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next,
Aye.
thank you. The next item on our agenda is adjourn to closed session.
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we adjourn to a closed session to discuss the purchase of real estate property and of a personnel or personal matter. Personnel.
And I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning to closed session, say aye.
Aye.
I.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Adjourn for closed So moved by Council Proscar, we go out of closed session.
I will second that motion by Council
All
Christensen.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I make.
Aye.
Adjourn.
So moved, seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Oh, just to go slow.
You did awesome.